The Walking Dead is one of my favorite shows of all time, and today I'm going to be explaining why I think it is such a great show, how monumental it was when it came out, and how it set a precedent for all TV shows after it. So, just a heads up, there will be minor spoilers for this video, just regarding certain details for characters, just to help me make certain points. I will say it's nothing crazy. If you do decide to watch it and you never have before, I don't think it'll ruin your experience at all. But just in case, there's a heads up for you. But yeah, anyways, with all that being said, let's get into it. The Walking Dead is a horror drama TV series that is loosely based on the graphic novel series that started in 2003 by Robert Kirkman. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic North America that follows a group of survivors who are simply just trying to, well, survive after a zombie outbreak has spread across the world. It sounds simple, and really it is, but I'll talk about why that's okay and how it works in a moment. So the show started in 2010 and just recently concluded with 11 seasons total. Throughout the series' run, it has produced a few spin-offs that are loosely connected to the main show, as well as some more direct spin-offs as well, after the main show concluded, that follow the main series' main characters, such as Dead City following Negan and Maggie, and Daryl Dixon following, well, I think you can figure that one out. And it seems like they are just getting started on expanding the universe, but more on that later. Now let's dig into the main reasons as to what makes the show so great. So you'd think that the main threat in a zombie apocalypse show would be the zombies, but that is far from the case in this show. While the zombies are still very prominent and prove to be a threat, they are nothing compared to other people. In fact, the show has actually gained a lot of its popularity due to the villains. And man, there are villains of all kinds. Some are conflicted, some are hateable, some are actually likable to a degree, and some are just downright evil. Though, many of these attributes can actually be applied to the heroes as well. Many of the protagonists go through the same things the villains do. The only difference is that the protagonists have each other to keep themselves accountable. The show highlights the need for humans to have connections with one another and how vital it is to find a group that will always bring out the best in you and will always have your back. The whole show always follows groups of people rather than a singular or just a few main protagonists, and instead it focuses on every person's relationship and dynamic with one another and their interactions that display how they build each other up and are always there for each other no matter what. I mean, we see numerous times from multiple protagonists acts of vengeance, mercilessness, savagery, A lot of these examples of the protagonists doing these questionable things are because they are just trying to protect one another. It seems like they are being selfish when in reality, they are just doing what they think is best for their people. And while some of these things seem like traits of villains, it just shows that nobody is perfect and we all go through struggles. It just depends on if we let them get the best of us or if we keep pushing forward and try to do better next time. And yes, some stumble along the way, and you can even say the same things about many of the villains acting the way they do because they are just trying to protect the people they care about. But while many of the villains' intentions do indeed start off pure, many of them can become corrupted with greed, power, influence, and authority. I mean, it is an apocalypse, and if one ever did actually happen and the government collapsed, of course there's going to be power struggles, and of course there's going to be chaos. It's going to be madness. So it brings up the question of if some people, given the right circumstances, will always succumb to their evil roots like some believe, or if some can defy these beliefs and create their own destiny with the help of building the right relationships. Can the most evil of people be redeemed? And can the seemingly best of people be turned? Really interesting things to think about, and the show tries to display some of these questions through their characters, which brings me to my next point. One of the best things about this show by far are the characters and the development many of them go through, and I gotta say, it definitely has some of the best character development ever portrayed on film. The journeys that these characters go through, both literally and metaphorically, can be really inspiring, or rather, very tragic, or both at the same time. Some characters can start off one way and become the complete opposite of who they were later on. I mean, I think everyone really disliked Daryl at first and thought he was annoying and even a potential threat, and how he has become one of the most beloved characters now in the franchise, and now he has his own spin-off show. Negan, one of the most ruthless villains in TV history, who we thought would never change his ways, is still working on his redemption with Maggie and many others whom he wronged in his past, after he had a lot of time to just sit in solitude and think about the damage and pain he caused in so many people's lives, and after gaining a family of his own, so he can understand better. One of my favorites is Carol, who started off as a helpless and abused wife who thought she had no choice except to be a pushover until she went through some tragedies of her own and witnessed similar events of others, which transformed her into one of the most bad ladies you would never want to even look at the wrong way. But at the same time, retaining her motherly side, luckily. She just knows, when it's necessary to stand up for herself. Many of the characters represent different traits. For example, Rick represents leadership at its finest and always acts for the group rather than just himself, who's always reasonable and just in his actions. Maggie represents perseverance. She started off from humble beginnings, and after all the loss she went through, she never acted on her emotions, as we can see with her conflict with Negan. As much as she hated him, she never actually tried to kill him. She also never gave up when she thought all was lost, and instead made the most out of what she had.
Even though I know that you're trying, I'm trying to. Because I don't want to hate you anymore. I don't want to hurt like that. And I don't want my son to see that anybody has that kind of hold over me.
And those are just a few of many examples. And actually, to kind of go along with that, as well as being related to my first point, a very prominent thing that is shown in the series is the natural human will to live. We see through these characters the lengths people will go through in order to survive and keep each other alive. The phrase, desperate time calls for desperate measures, would be very applicable to this, because we really do see moments where heroes and villains alike will do unimaginable things in order to keep themselves and each other alive and well. The apocalypse brought out the worst in some, but the best in others. Kind of what I was talking about in my previous point, about if someone can truly change given the right circumstances. Many decided to take advantage of others and exploit them in a time of great conflict, while others found true purpose and became more aware of the good things they have in life after so much was taken away from them. Finding beauty in the chaos, if you will. This show truly has a great array of examples as to what humans are capable of and how we are always subject to change due to how events and other people can shape our beliefs and character, whether that be for the better or for the worse. I've always thought the show has had a great blend of both drama and action. What many pieces of film tend to do is focus too much on one genre or one element within it, to the point where it is washed out, boring, uninspired, and or just mindless. So like many actions and horror flicks can be solely focused on the action, which in turn makes most of the characters bland and uninteresting, which makes you just less invested in everything overall. And some dramas can be so serious to where many audiences would likely get bored since it's just less entertaining. But this show does great with having both incredibly emotional moments, while at the same time always delivering great action. And of course, since this is a zombie show, it's going to be very intense and gory. It's just a very gritty show in general, so it's definitely not for the faint of heart, I will say. So with all of that being said, The Walking Dead covers very deep ideas, philosophies, and questions regarding morality, such as the power of the will to live, the question of are we naturally good or evil, or neither, the inevitability of change, and how we all react to it differently, and what all determines the outcome of one's life. The show is incredibly strong in its unique set of characters and their development, and has a great mix of both drama and action, which makes the show constantly entertaining while at the same time deep in meaning. So, yes, the show is very long with its 11 seasons, and it does get a lot of complaints because of that, like just how they keep dragging it out. But I will say that the last two seasons, sure, they aren't the best in the show, but I think they still have enough to where it is still worth watching all the way through. And every single season throughout the show, there's always a fresh plot line. There's always new characters. There's always a new setting, locations. There's always new stuff. And so I think it's definitely worth it watching all the way through. Like I was always captivated and interested in it all the way through. All right, now to talk about the spin-offs. So first we have Fear the Walking Dead. Now, this one came out just I think like 5 years or so into like the main show. So the main show was still going on at this point. Um, and so I never really got into it. I watched a few episodes and I just didn't get that far. I just wasn't too interested in it, but that was a while back and I know the show did recently end. So if you guys have seen it, I mean, let me know what you thought about it and if it's worth watching. Cuz I mean, it does have Morgan in it from the main show, who I really liked as a character. And I know it connects a lot to, like to the main story, but I just wasn't sure at the time. Like it just didn't seem too interesting. But I mean, hey, things might have changed. They added a lot of seasons since then, so you never know. And then another one is The World Beyond, and I have not seen that one at all. I haven't really heard anything great about it. If you guys have seen it, let me know what you think about it. Maybe is it worth watching? I don't know. I mean, I'll give it a shot, I guess. And I hear that one actually does connect a lot to the main show, or at least just to the broader universe. You know, as the title suggests, The World Beyond, talking about like a lot of the backstory with the virus and stuff. That's just what I've heard, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I mean, I might give that a go. But yeah, I haven't seen that. But onto the stuff I have seen. So a few years back, actually probably like two or three, they came out with this anthology series called Tales of the Walking Dead, and I actually really enjoyed that. So you know, anthology, each episode is completely separated from the other, and man, like they were like really unique stories, and they really stood on their own really well. And one actually did connect to the main show like completely because the whole episode was about Alpha, which is the main antagonist later on into the later seasons in the main show. So that was very interesting. It was a great show all around. So I definitely recommend that one. And then onto the spin-offs that are supposed to be direct spin-offs of the main show after it concluded with its 11th season, which the first one would be Dead City, which I have seen with Negan and Maggie going to New York. That one's pretty good, decent. um, I don't think there's anything too special about it. I think the story's just kind of meh, but I think, you know, Negan and Maggie are awesome characters, and, you know, their dynamic with each other and their interactions are, you know, always very interesting to see. So I think that alone is worth watching. But now the Daryl show, I gotta say, that one was amazing. I really like that one. It's where he goes to France, and that's also dealing with more of the backstory of the virus, but even more so, just Daryl as a character, just exploring more of him, which is very interesting because he's always been one of the main characters. But I mean, we still don't know like a whole lot about him, but you know, we got to go more into his psyche this time, and so you know, it was just an interesting show all around, especially like the introduction of a lot of cool characters. So I definitely recommend that show. And then of course I can't wait for The Ones Who Live, which I believe comes out next year in 2024 with Rick and Michonne. And originally Rick's continued story was supposed to be in like a movie trilogy format, which I thought was just insane. But yeah, they definitely changed it. They changed it to just, you know, another spin-off show, which I'm okay with because I mean, a movie trilogy like that's pretty bold doing that as for like a TV show, just going off of a TV show. But I mean, either way, I think they would have been okay with it. But I'm glad it's just another show. So I'm sure they'll do good with it, and I'm, you know, super excited. Like it's been a while since we've seen Rick. You know, we've always been so just interested, like what happened to him, like what's the story behind it. It's, you know, and then we're just gonna see Michonne try to find him, and then what's been going on with her and her journey to like in finding him. So overall, I mean, it's gonna be exciting. So can't wait to talk about that one. So basically, if you finish the main series, you still have a lot on your dinner plate if you want it. And if nothing else, I really recommend the Daryl show. That's a great one. But yeah, anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of the video. Let me know if you've seen the show. Let me know what you thought about it, and let me know what you thought of my review over it. Hopefully I provided some good reasons as to why I think it is one of the best shows of all time. And if you haven't seen it, hopefully I convinced you to want to go and watch it. Anyways, guys, so yeah, that's about it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.